afternoon. Thank you. I'd like to start with a short video that gives a general impression of what we do and what we are in Curaçao as a port.
Strategically located in the Southern Caribbean Sea, Curaçao Ports Authority leads the development and management of the island's ports according to the highest international standards. Based on the landlord port model, CPA assumes the role of a developer, sector manager, regulator, and registered ISO service provider. The natural sheltered seaports and the safe and calm climate conditions allow for a wide range of berthing options, facilities, and maritime services for all types of vessels that cover commercial, recreational, and industrial segments. Curaçao is a marquee cruise destination and one of the destinations capable of mooring an Oasis-class vessel at the second mega pier. The end of the St. Anne Bay meets the Schottegat area, home of the Caribbean's largest crude oil refinery. It's also an economic area zone and includes a container terminal, free zone, and one of the largest and fully equipped dry docking, ship repair, and maintenance facility located in the Caribbean. Significant investments will be made in the container terminal in the coming years to further improve the efficiency and the facilities. The Bullen Bay on the southwest coast is suitable for safe docking of oil and crude tankers and will be further developed as a deep-sea port. Caracas Bay on the south coast is an open and spacious bay suitable for safe docking of the biggest vessels and other floating objects such as rigs. CPA owns the single mooring buoy at St. Michiel's Bay, used as anchoring facility for vessels with cargoes. The private Fuik Bay is used for shipment of phosphate rock. The ports are increasingly managed using innovative information technology. Strategic decision-making is supported through real-time and dynamic data dashboards. Tailored information portals and digital media are accessible online by stakeholders. This ensures that immediate information is easily accessible. Curaçao's maritime sector is home to professional and experienced operators offering a diverse mix of quality services to ships calling its ports. Harbor, coastal, and ocean towage are performed by the other subsidiary of CPA, KTK Tugs, with a state-of-the-art fleet of tugboats and highly trained personnel. Maritime certifications can be attained at the Dutch Regional Training Center through the many multilingual training courses, such as proficiency in survival craft and rescue boats, boat master courses, basic safety course, advanced firefighting, just to mention a few. A range of port operators offer maintenance and repair services, provision facilities, multi-purpose cargo handling services, and underwater services. With modern infrastructure and integrated service offerings, the Curaçao port continues to strive to become the #1 port of choice in the region.
All right, thank you for your attention. What I would like to share with you this afternoon is some information that we follow to stay abreast of the cruise industry. And I'll also share a little bit of what we're doing to reach our main objectives in this sector. So if we look at the global cruise passengers, it is continuously growing. If you look at last year, there was a 5.7% record increase in global passengers. And estimates show that next year it will be 6%. Contrary to what we heard yesterday, for instance, in the container sector, where vessel containers capacity is exceeding demand, in the cruise sector is the other way around. Demand is exceeding supply. So according to, for instance, the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association, this growth is expected in the years to come because the primary objective of the cruise lines remain enhancing demand. And there's a lot of room for growth because currently the cruise market represents only 2% of the travel industry. The biggest markets right now with regard to cruise is the Caribbean and the Bahamas with over 38%. To put it in perspective, the next largest markets are the Mediterranean and China. Interesting to note is which markets are growing exponentially. That would be Germany, Canada, and China. Those are markets to keep a close look on. The capacity right now delivered in the market, of course, is being led by Carnival, Royal Caribbean, Norwegian Cruise Lines, and MSC. So this just goes to show that the market is dominated by the big players. And Carnival, as you can see, is pretty much leading the market. As a destination, it is important to know where the passengers are coming from, so you can invest your promotional dollars wisely. The United States still remains the primary source, but China is coming up. If you listen to the industry experts, they believe that in the future, China will become the #1 source market. One important metric that we look at to gauge where demand is going in the coming years is to look at how many vessels are on order. There are more than 100 vessels on order for the next 8 years. And interesting is that many of these vessels are large vessels capable of handling more than 5,000 passengers. So you will see ports investing in the coming years to be able to handle these larger vessels. Also, 28 of these vessels are going to be LNG capable. So I think that those ports that can set up a business case to invest in LNG bunker facilities may be capitalizing on this opportunity. Trends, it is of course important to stay abreast of the latest trends so you can adjust quickly. One that I would like to mention is how social media is driving interest in travel around the world. If you look at Instagram, for instance, there are more than 350 million posts daily with the hashtag travel. So as a port, if you can create the opportunity that as soon as the passenger disembarks, to give him a photo opportunity and also give him Wi-Fi, surely you will receive promotion on social media. So that is something we're really trying to accomplish in our port. Another interesting trend in the shore excursion category that I'd like to mention is it is no longer good enough to provide the passengers a sightseeing tour. The tourists now want to feel an achievement on their travels. So, for instance, if culture is what makes your destination special, then you should provide the opportunity for them to get a hands-on experience of the culture. It is a complex goal, but we're working closely in this particular case with the tourism department and also the tour operators to try to come up with these type of offerings. Itineraries, again, as a destination, it's important to follow the itineraries in your region. In our case, that would be the Southern Caribbean. As an island, there's a lot of promotion going into generating that awareness in the passengers' minds, but the cruise lines sell itineraries. So it is important for us to work together with the neighboring destinations. In our case, that would be Aruba and Bonaire. So we have MOUs signed with both destinations, so we can come together periodically and think about ways in which we can draw more vessels south. Especially because we are in the Southern Caribbean, it is even more important because vessels typically don't cross the Caribbean Sea just to hit one of the islands. They always want to hit 1, 2, or 3 of them. If you look at the distribution of the passengers in the Caribbean, it is interesting to note some of the outliers like Bahamas, Cozumel, Jamaica. But Cozumel in particular, the island has a population, inhabitants of approximately 100,000. But it is estimated that Cozumel will do 4 million passengers next year. Now, if you look at how many passengers typically disembark in Cozumel, that will be about 85%, and they spend around $100 average. So the direct contribution to the economy in Cozumel would be $350 million. So I think it's safe to say that Cozumel is doing a great job with respect to the cruise sector. There are three main revenue streams that the cruise lines bring and to contribute to the economy of these destinations. Number one would be the average passenger spending. Typically, that would be on shore excursions and also retail. The second one would be the crew average spending. That would be typically on food and beverage and transportation. And the third one would be what the cruise lines contribute directly with port fees and services they request in port. So it is common to use the passenger spending as the most important key performance indicator, but we believe that it is an untapped market with regard to the cruise spending. It is not only in our port, but when I speak to other ports, it's the same reaction we get. So this is something we really look into to capitalize on. If you have more than 25 million passengers globally, you have 5 million passengers, crew, that are also disembarking in these ports. Home ports are important. The simple proximity of the destination to the home port may influence significantly how many passengers you get. In our case, most passengers are sourcing out of Florida, San Juan, Colón, and Bridgetown, Barbados. So while Florida remains to be the number one source, we are keeping a close eye on developments of home porting in the Caribbean region, because like I said, any new port will have a significant impact on the volume of passengers we receive. Passenger arrivals. This particular graph gives an indication of how passenger volume has developed over the years in Curaçao. But it is very similar to the global graph. That points to a resilient market. And it was instrumental for us in Curaçao when we were ready to build a pier. Because any port needs a steady stream of passengers if you want to invest in the infrastructure in the cruise terminal. But it is very difficult, if not impossible, to get cruise lines to commit to a volume of passengers. So in our case, because the local financial institutions recognize the resiliency, we were able to obtain a loan of $40 million to create a pier in 2017. The cruise lines that bring the passengers to Curaçao are Royal Caribbean, Brand, Carnival, Pullmantur, Holland America, Celebrity, and Princess. All these lines fall under the corporations. So in our case, Carnival and Royal Caribbean represent more than 90% of the market that service the island. Interesting is, of course, how this pie chart is developing over the years. And while these are the main lines right now, it is interesting to note that Norwegian Cruise Lines is showing a lot of growth. And MSC, while still small in Curaçao, we're keeping a close eye because of how they are positioning themselves in the global market. And to give an example, they have now 16 vessels, and they're planning to have 29 vessels in the next 8 years. So fostering the relationship with cruise lines like this is very important for us. This slide just groups the Royal and Carnival brands to show that how they, in our case, dominate the market in Curaçao. Finally, the two main objectives that we have as a destination is to increase the volume of passengers from 800,000 to 1 million passengers in the next 5 years, and we want to increase the average spending from $70 to $100. With regard to that first objective, our main concern a few years back was capacity. We were congested during high season, and we note that vessels keep getting bigger, and we were not in a position to, for instance, receive the Oasis class. So we constructed this new pier in 2017, and now we can receive the largest vessels on the market for the foreseeable future. And we are waiting our neighbors to adjust, to make the necessary investment, because like I said, an Oasis-class vessel, for instance, will not come all the way down just to visit Curaçao. They would want to visit Curaçao and Aruba, or Curaçao and Bonaire. Always Curaçao in the tree, of course. With regard to the average spending, this is a little bit more complex. It requires a lot of coordination and cooperation between many stakeholders. But there are some factors that we can influence directly as a Port Authority. We are currently finalizing a master plan to upgrade the upland facility with entertainment, sport facility, and a little bit of retailing. And also, we own the wharves in our UNESCO Downtown Heritage site. And these are wharves that in the past were used to move cargo. And we set up a master plan about 4 years ago that is now going to be implemented with regard to the first phase before the end of the year. There's a lot more information that you can dig into with regard to spending. This is information that is available. Their surveys are being conducted every 2 years. We know, for instance, that passengers that disembark, what they spend their money on. To give an example, 58% of the passengers that disembark buy shore excursions. We have this information from other destinations also. So to use Cozumel again as an example, if we look at the breakdown as to what passengers are spending their money on, it is very similar in all these locations. So while we can spend a lot of time to come up with new revenue streams, it is clear to us that we need to improve what we are already offering. So if shore excursions is the #1 spending, we need to be able to provide a better enhanced product so we can charge more for the tours in Curaçao. So all in all, what I've shown is how we study the market, how we follow the market, the action plans and the objectives that we set. But we believe that passengers will choose an itinerary that includes your destination because of what makes it special. And what we need to do as a destination is make sure that we give them the opportunity to create an authentic experience. So that's what we believe in a nutshell. Thank you.